I know it's pretty late, but I've got some delayed thoughts on Oregon's big-time victory over Iowa on Saturday. Plus, my full preview and predictions of the Ducks' Friday night showdown with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. That show out west kicks off right about now.
This place has everything. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
That performance deserves a Holy Wallowa.
It's a feeling you cannot explain.
This place is louder than any other venue in the Big Ten.
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon.
And welcome to That Show Out West for That Team Out West. I'm Ted LaRue. What a busy weekend it was for me. I was working in a TV truck in the shadows of Lambeau Field, Titletown, Green Bay, Wisconsin. And when I was shielded from the outside world in that truck, you best know that I did have my phone on Saturday afternoon. I did see Atticus Sappington kick it through the uprights to give the Ducks an 18-16 win. I had it in the corner of my eye. I had a quarter of an eye on that matchup, but I was not able to get my full two eyes on a rewatch of this Oregon-Iowa game really until Tuesday. Very busy weekend. Some other things certainly came up. So you get a twofer here today. You get a reaction, you get a preview, you get a prediction. Maybe it's a threefer. It is a full course meal, a trio of everything Oregon here on TSOW here today. And I've got one thing before I dive into talking about that. It's the last Saturday's game against the Iowa Hawkeyes. What a week it was, specifically early in the week on Duck Twitter. Oregon fans, Washington fans, coming together for the greater good. If you know, you know. I'll just leave it at that. All right, let's go in and talk about this game. Oregon's 18-16 victory over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Look, I think we all knew what this game was going to be coming into this thing. All right, even if it wasn't raining, even if it was 60 degrees and sunny out there at Kinnick Stadium, you knew what kind of a battle that this was going to be. It was going to be tough. It was going to be physical. It was going to be Kirk Ferentz. It was going to be black and gold, maybe black and blue, an Iowa-style football game. The question was Oregon going to be able to win? Were they going to be able to muck it up? Were they going to be able to play an Iowa-style football game and come out on top? There were points and times, man, when Mark Gronowski goes and they take the lead. There were times where maybe some doubts started to fill the minds of Duck fans, but they had a great game-winning drive where Sappington hit the field goal. More on that in just a minute. But this game really proved that Oregon can punch in multiple type of fights. I mean, we know that Oregon can play that game where they can deliver haymakers back and forth. We know Dante can unleash the ball down the field. We've seen that throughout this season. But they answered the question that can they match up with this Iowa team that majors in the line of scrimmage? And we know, look, you and I know that the line of scrimmage at Oregon is as good as it is at any school that plays FBS college football across the United States of America. But especially like these last two games, with what they did against Wisconsin, with what they did against Iowa, right? And especially when you factor in the weather. I'll talk more about the weather here in just a moment. But to be able to punch and punch and punch continuously and kind of beat these teams, beat Iowa at their own game. That's something that I talked about in my preview show. It's like, hey, man, you know what you're going to get into. You know the fight. You might as well just participate in the fight at that. Don't try to make this game something that it's not going to be. Dan Lanning, this coaching staff, this Oregon team, they didn't make it too complicated. They said, we got guys that we believe are bigger. We've got guys that we believe are stronger, right? We've got guys that we believe are better in the trenches. Oregon won this game both sides of the line of scrimmage in the trenches. I'm going to kind of say some things to illustrate that point here in just a moment. Adversity. This is an Oregon team that, man, early in the season, things were looking pretty smooth, weren't they? You know, Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State, and then you get the big win on the road at Penn State. Man, this train is chugging, isn't it? Now all of a sudden, you lose to Indiana. Now all of a sudden, you get a couple of weather games where you got to battle through against Wisconsin, and especially in this game against Iowa. I'm not going to lie, when we heard kind of the injury news about Decorian Moore, and then you hear with Kenyon Sadiq, and then you hear that Alex Harkey's not going to be able to go, and you know, okay, the rain is going to be maybe more of a factor than we anticipated earlier in the week, although it wasn't very windy, maybe like it was for the Oregon-Wisconsin game. All of those things kind of combined, and you're like, maybe this is the game. If Oregon's going to go 10-2, maybe this is the two. But Dan Lanning said, we're going to fight like warriors. All right, warriors, they take the battle to the opponent. Okay, I can't exactly remember the phrase that he said in Ducks versus them. You knew I was trying to think of it. I'm sure you guys know out there what exactly I'm talking about right now. But here's the thing. You'd had all those factors, and then even Gary Bryant Jr. goes out early in this game. Yet, you know what? Guys continue to battle through. Jamari Johnson came up and made some plays. And then the run game was just awesome. More on that in just a moment. I think we learned a lot. We learned a lot about this football team, that they just keep battling. They just keep chipping away in these types of games. And as long as they kind of hang around and stick around, like, they've made big plays on the road this year. Look at what Dante was able to do on the road at Penn State. Look at this game against Iowa. It looked like the Hawkeyes, late in the game when they got the touchdown and they took the lead, maybe that was going to be the difference in the game at that point in time. But Oregon's just got something. They got a very connected group. Dan has said that. I think PJ Flex said that about Oregon in his press conference this week as well. It's just a group that can make plays when they need to make plays this season, of course, outside of the Indiana game. But I think that this game, they knew it was going to be tough. They knew there was going to be adversity. And I think we learned a lot about the resolve of this team to keep fighting, to keep chipping away, as I said before. Let's talk, man, about this run game, because I think this run game is the best part of Oregon's offense now. And you might have not have said that early in the season when Dante Moore and the passing offense was humming like they are. It's a fantastic combination of these great running backs. I mean, there's a trio of them: Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison, and De'Aaron Hill. They all offer kind of something different. And this offensive line, man, this O-line is reaching another level. They continue to improve game after game. They continue to raise the bar. That interior, especially of the offensive line, can mash as good as anybody out there in college football. And this is a really good Iowa defensive front. Is it great? Is it elite? I don't know if I put it into that category in college football, but the way Oregon's offensive line, at times, they were just like, they were gashing Iowa. When all was said and done, 261, 7.3 yards per carry. They were impressive on the ground, considering the opponent, considering the circumstances that they were taking on. I think a huge part to this game was Oregon's ability to eliminate, and let's just say limit, the explosive plays from Iowa. I'm like, you might think, well, Ted, explosive plays, that's not something really Iowa majors in. You may say that, but it's just kind of those, like, it's those just, when the game is close in the fourth quarter, you get a punt return. When the game is close at the end of the third quarter, Mark Gronowski goes for 30, 40 yards, whatever, like he did in the game earlier this season against Penn State. And you're kind of just waiting maybe for a big play. And yeah, they got a couple of big pass plays and on a couple of broken coverages from Oregon throughout this game. But they never really were able to do anything like consistently good or consistently great on the offensive side of the ball. Like the longest run, Kamari Moulton had a 16-yard run. I mean, Iowa averaged 2.3 yards per carry. I mean, Gronowski just 25 yards on the ground. He had a long run of 8, and we knew that was kind of an area where, hey, Oregon needs to be able to stay home. They need to be able to kind of keep Mark Gronowski in the pocket, and that's exactly what they did. I saw Oregon playing with a lot of personnel near the line of scrimmage. I saw a lot of 5-man fronts. I saw a lot of rotating. There was a lot of different bodies. We saw Jericho Johnson playing in was that late first? Definitely the second quarter. We saw a big 77 in there, right? So, we kind of saw him a little bit earlier this season in garbage time, but now he's kind of making his way. When you have more personnel and you need bigger bodies against a team that likes to run the football, that has a great run-blocking offensive line like Iowa did, I think that's where you see somebody like a Jericho Johnson get into the game. Like they would, whether it was Mateo, I think it was Mateo maybe would go out of the game. They'd bring in an extra defensive tackle or a nose tackle, knowing that Iowa wants to get that interior run game going. So a great call by Tosh to be able to do that and to really be able to adjust based on the personnel that he was facing within this game. When you talk about the explosive plays for Iowa, Caden Weegan, I mean, whether it was the return game or whether it was on offense, we knew that, got to stop 21. Got to prevent him from making an impact on the football game. Nothing doing in the punt game. Like, that was a weapon in the punt return game and the kick return game. He had one kick return for 21 yards. So, coming into the game, one of my keys in my preview was Oregon needs to ace special teams. Holy crap, did they ace special teams? Okay? They did so good. The punt coverage was awesome. Fair catch after fair catch after fair catch. Not allowing Caden Weegan the opportunity to be able to take the ball and run and create a big play or even create good field position, more favorable position for this Iowa football team as well. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show, but yeah, the kick game was just stone cold, man, for Atticus Sappington. So you win the special teams game. You limit what Iowa is doing running the football. You play well in the trenches throughout the game. That is beating Iowa at their own game. And then you don't make as many mistakes. We know Dante Moore threw that interception early in the game. I don't think really Iowa, I don't think Iowa made anything of it. And Iowa, of course, they had a mistake of their own where the snap goes over the punter's head and goes to 2 points. So if you have one of those mistakes kind of going either way, Oregon gets points and then on Iowa's mistake, and then they don't allow it, points kind of coming back the other way, because a lot of times with Iowa, they just sit back and wait for you to make a mistake. But the game kept on going and going and going, and it never happened. The mistake never happened. Dan Lanning and this Oregon team just knew where they needed to be, and they knew the position that they needed to be in. They needed to play smart, disciplined football throughout the entire game, and I think that's exactly what they did. So, big win for the Ducks, 18-16 over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, it is time to hand out some hardware with our Holy Wallowa Awards. We begin with our honorable mentions. Let's start first with the quarterback, Dante Moore, 13-21, 112 yards, and that aforementioned interception. Look, I mean, this was a game where Oregon was going to run the football a lot. And all Dante had to do was just kind of, hey, get us a first down here, get us a first down there, protect the football. And outside of that early interception, he did a great job of that. And there was going to be a point in time during this game, hey, 5, go make a play. And that was the final drive for this Oregon team. 47 of Dante's 112 yards came on the final drive of the game, and holy Wallowa, that throw to Malik Benson right on a frickin' dime in these elements, in this environment, at that time when you absolutely need it. That is as clutch of a throw as you can get from a quarterback. What a situation it was to be able to deliver that right on the money at that moment in time. And then we got to talk about the guy that we just talked about, Malik Benson, that 24-yard grab. He had 2 catches, 29 yards. I mean, he needed to be the guy in this game. He needed to be able to make the play. Now, he didn't have a ton of catches, but with that defender kind of draped all over him on that final drive to be able to focus and catch that ball that's right on target, I mean, he was put in a situation to succeed, and he came up with the play to be able to succeed. So you got to throw a shout out to Malik Benson. You know, no Decorian Moore, no Kenyon Sadiq. Gary Bryant Jr. goes down. Someone needs to make the play in that situation. Malik Benson, made the play. Let's go to the defensive side of the football, Jerry Mixon. This was like Jerry Mixon's best game in a minute. 13 tackles. He was all over the field. I thought the defensive line played a pretty good football game considering the offensive line that they were matched up against. And it was going to be, how good were these linebackers going to play throughout the game? And I thought Jerry did what he needed to do. He was in the right spot, sniffing out the ball, putting his nose where it needed to be. So shout out to you, 54. You got to give a shout out to a guy 10 numbers below him, Tatum Tuioti, 9 tackles and a sack. What did I say coming into this game? Got to play honest football. Got to keep guys to the inside. I thought the edges did a really good job in this one. Tatum Tuioti was a big part of that. He's he's so good. I love watching Tatum play the game of football. What is something I brought up in my preview was hey, let's bring safeties towards the line of scrimmage. Let's bring this personnel, right? Dylan Thieneman has kind of been that other linebacker that's come in and played the run so well. I thought he played the run really well. 8 tackles. He made key tackles at his spots, kind of coming down from that position to prevent bigger runs from going into the secondary. And that's what you needed to do against Iowa. So big shout out to Dylan Thieneman. Let's go into our Holy Wallowa winners for the week. There are 4 of them. You cannot talk about a performance in a game like this without throwing out the very first Holy Wallowa to the Portland native, Mr. Atticus Sappington. When you got a game in the weather conditions where you need to make field goals, right? Where this Iowa defense, it's hard to drive down the field and get into the end zone. You need a kicker that can make kicks throughout the game. Atticus had ice water in his veins in this one, man. 3 of 3 in the game-winning field goal. If you needed another reason to maybe be nervous in this type of environment, when's the last time an Oregon kicker had a game like this to give the Ducks the victory? Field goals from 46-40 and the game winner right down Broadway from 39 yards out. When it's this type of game where the defenses are good, you need to get points on the board at any cost. Atticus Sappington, you deserve this Holy Wallowa. And then we got to hand one out as well to Noah Whittington. 17 carries, 118 yards on the ground. One of his very best games of the season, maybe even his Duck career. Like I said before, they were gashing Iowa. Noah Whittington was finding the hole. Noah Whittington was exploding to the hole and getting that extra yardage. He was a big part in how they were wearing down that Hawkeye defense over time. You know what was maybe the biggest part of Oregon wearing down this Hawkeye defense over time? Those big old boys that have been propelling the interior run game. Center, Iapani Lalaulu. Left guard, Emmanuel Pregnon. Both of you get Holy Wallowas this week. Because, man, Noah Whittington, you got Jordan Davison, Adair Hill had some good runs as well throughout this game. 7 carries and a touchdown for all 23. But those holes don't open up unless you don't have these 2 great offensive linemen paving the way, man. They are one of the best, if not the best, offensive line duo maybe in college football right now when it comes to run blocking. I know a lot of attention was on the other side of the coin. A lot of attention was on the Iowa Hawkeyes in this matchup, but Oregon proved to be the better run blocking unit throughout this matchup, and it was because of these two guys right now. I mean, PFF recognized them. Poncho, an 82 pass block grade. His run block grade I thought was pretty low. For me, I think he deserves to be a little bit higher, but that was at 73.6. I thought he was fantastic in the run blocking game. Manuel Pregnon, 84.5 run blocker, 84.4 pass blocker. I mean, coming into the season, we knew, okay, Emmanuel Pregnon, a really good pass blocker for a guard. But he's also a pretty good run blocker. How high is that ceiling going to be? Turns out pretty damn high. Because I think coming into the year, everybody was projecting Oregon to have a first-round offensive lineman. Everybody was looking at the maybe the potential of one Isaiah World, but it's Emmanuel Pregnon. I think he's working his way into a first-round draft pick. I think he is one of the best interior offensive linemen in all of college football, and he is a huge reason why this run game is doing what it's doing right now. If these two continue to play at this level, man, this is going to be a bruising finish to the season for maybe some opposition. So, Emmanuel Pregnon, Iapane Lalaulu, Noah Whittington, Atticus Sampington. How about some Holy Wallowas? Now, let's advance and talk about this week's game. And you know where we start. Let's talk about uniforms. And this uniform is very interesting for me that they are going to be wearing on Friday night against the Minnesota Golden Gophers because, man, that helmet, what did the kids say? It slaps. I mean, that is a fantastic helmet. I think it's like you put the O on any helmet, I'm going to be a huge fan of it. That's going to raise it multiple levels. I favor the O over the wings. That's just my personal preference. I think there's some uniform combinations where the wings really works, but man, that O, it speaks to me, man. It speaks to me. I saw someone post this on Twitter. You see the gap between the two green stripes on this helmet. I'm like, what if they would have put one big yellow stripe to kind of, blend with the numbers that are also yellow? I'm like, oh, that would have been good. No stripes along the pants. Considering that there's two green stripes going up the helmet, I thought, hey, put two green stripes. You see that all the time on other teams' uniforms, right down the pants. And then, maybe if you would have put the yellow on the helmet, you put the yellow down the pants as well. If they would have done that, this uniform might be a spot or two above where it is on this rankings. But overall, I really like this uniform. Where does it stand in my rankings? Let's dive into it. I think it's kind of right in the middle, right? This is our 9th uniform of the season. I'm going to put it at number 5. I like it better than the Grateful Duck uniform. I really like give me green and give me O over black and wings any day of the week. But I just, I really like the touch of the mummy on the Mummy Duck uniforms against Penn State. And obviously that was a big win, so maybe that one stands out a little bit more. I like the helmet that they wore against Northwestern, which is the yellow helmet with the green O, better. And I think I like the yellow pants better than maybe this uniform right now. So I've got it 5 out of 9. Shoe Duck 1, the green, black, green against Indiana, number 2, the yellow, white, yellow against Northwestern at number 3. I got a Mummy Duck at 4. I've got this one at 5. I got Grateful Duck at 6. I got Stormtrooper at 7. I've got the Montana State uniform at number 8 and the All Greens against Oklahoma State at number 9. And those nice looking threads are going to be on display tomorrow night, game night, Friday night, within the walls of Autzen Stadium against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Yeah, I got some maroon and gold stuff just kind of lying around the house. My sister went to school, graduated from her undergrad at the University of Minnesota, so she's a Gopher. For those of you on podcast, I was bobbling around a little Gopher bobblehead on camera for the YouTube folks. But let's get into this matchup. Minnesota coming into Eugene to take on the 8th-ranked Oregon Ducks. 25.5-point favorites. That is a big number. We'll see if they can achieve that number. The over-under, 44.5, Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time on Fox. The first thing that I want to talk about when we talk about this game is how damn good Oregon is at running the football right now. And I don't care who's on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I don't care if it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. I don't care if it's the 85 Bears. Oregon, keep doing what you do best. And right now, that is running the damn ball. The Ducks have rushed for an average of 294.7 yards per game in their last 3 games. That is third in FBS during that stretch. Second in Power 4 behind only Utah. Navy is the other team smack dab between the Utes and the Ducks. Look, Oregon rushed for 415 yards at Rutgers. Now, that's a huge number, but the Scarlet Knights are a bad defense. I think the things that have been most impressive, back-to-back 200-yard games against really good Big Ten rush defenses in the Wisconsin Badgers and the Iowa Hawkeyes in bad conditions where I think both teams knew, Oregon's just going to mash the run, and we know it's coming, we can anticipate it, but we still kind of had trouble stopping it. That's the mark of really good execution on the offensive side of the football. Now, Minnesota is just like, even going back to when Joe Rossi was their defensive coordinator, and they had a really good defense. And, they had Corey Heatherman as the defensive coordinator. He left to go to Miami. Enter Danny Collins. He got a promotion. He's the DC now. He was the safeties coach. And it's another solid defense. They've got a great defensive culture in Minneapolis. The Gophers are 6th in the Big Ten against the run. It's good, not outstanding, certainly. Devin Eastern is a defensive tackle in there. He's big. He's plus 300, but nobody else really in the interior is over 300 pounds for Minnesota right now. What Poncho and Pregnon are doing, they continue to raise their game to another level. And like I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter how good the defense is on the other side. Keep on investing what you're good at right now. The best part of your offense is the run game. And I don't think Minnesota really offers anything that's going to say, well, they're going to defend the run better than what Iowa or Wisconsin did. So if you can replicate those types of performances against Minnesota, you could rush for 250 in this game. I think Oregon's just going to roll the ball out there, and they're going to dare Minnesota. They're going to dare the Gophers to stop the run. I got a pretty good feeling about that. Considering the confidence, considering the success that these teams have had, they're going to be like, all right, we're just going to pound the football. We dare you to stop it. And even if there's some plays where they do contain it and they're able to maybe get Oregon into a third down, I think the Ducks have some big advantages on the outside. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. I love the variety. I love the varying skill sets of these running backs right now. You have Jordan Davison. We know, I wrote about it on Scoop Duck recently, and I've talked about it on this show. Jordan Davison, although he's over 230 pounds, he's very shifty, and he can read and cut really well. But, he is mostly a power back and mostly a straightforward type of guy. De'Aaron Hill, when you pound Jordan Davison and you do those interior running concepts, the duos, the inside zones of the world, that's when maybe you get to the outside. That's when maybe you try to get De'Aaron Hill in a one-on-one matchup, get some great perimeter blocking down the field, get Roger Salapaga downfield, get Jamari Johnson downfield and some of these other guys. And then Noah Whittington is kind of a combination. You see his speed and his explosiveness through the hole. You can also see his power as well. So I could see Oregon really throwing a lot at Minnesota early. Get under center, run power football, get Zach Grace on the field at that fullback position. All right. Go shotgun, 4 wide receivers, spread guys out, let's run to the outside. Do a lot of different things to keep Minnesota off balance, but just keep on investing in what you're good at, and that is the run game right now. And a healthy run game can help isolate some matchups on the outside, but but more on that in just a minute. I want to talk about what is the strength of Minnesota. I believe offense or defense. I think the strength of the Gophers right now is their pass rush. They have one of the best pass rushes in the country. The best pass rush statistically in the Big Ten right now. 32 sacks, that leads the Big Ten fifth in FBS. Check out some of these numbers against some of these opponents this year. 7 sacks, 11 TFLs against Rutgers. 9 sacks and 10 TFLs against Nebraska. 7 sacks, 12 TFLs against Michigan State. Rutgers, Nebraska, Michigan State. They're not going to win any awards for great offensive lines this year. I want to make that known, but I also don't want to minimize the type of talents that the Gophers have up front. So I think Oregon is going to present some challenges for Minnesota to get to the quarterback like they've done maybe in some of these games this season. But I think also Minnesota maybe presents some challenges for the offensive tackles. And I'm really curious to see how these matchups go in this game. Their pass rush is led by Anthony Smith. 9 sacks this year, leads the Big Ten. He's a bigger pass rusher. He's not going to beat you with bend and getting around with quickness and speed. That's not the type of rusher he is. He is going to put his hands into you. He is going to extend. He is going to drive with his legs. He is very much a bull power rusher. And when Minnesota is able to cover well on the back end, that's where Anthony Smith can really start to wreak havoc. So getting rid of the football quickly, maybe some other things can help isolate or help neutralize, I should say, Anthony Smith. Carter Menz is more of, I think he's around 240, 250 pounds. He's a little bit quicker. So he's maybe that guy that you got to watch out for as maybe a speed guy coming off the edge. 5.5 sacks. Jackson Howard has 4 sacks, so they should be looked at this in this game. I'm really curious to look at Janoris Wilson. We saw Janoris Wilson. I thought he held up pretty good last week against a good Iowa defensive line. Of course, with the injury to Alex Harkey, we don't know what the status of Harkey is quite yet. What it is going to be for this game against Minnesota on Friday night. But I'm really intrigued to see how 78 is going to handle. What about Isaiah World on the other side? I think Isaiah has progressively gotten better and better and better in pass protection as this game has gone on. We know with that big 6'8" frame, we know it's maybe a little bit difficult to get that ass down and anchor a little bit. How is he going to do against a power rusher, maybe against Anthony Smith? Those are some matchups I think that we got to keep in mind. So, are the tackles going to be able to hold up against this Minnesota pass rush? I think they're going to be able to. I think they're going to, at the very least, going to be able to contain it, I believe, throughout the matchup. Now, let's kind of circle everything back together. A really good run game, getting rid of the football quickly, and specifically a screen game can slow down the pass rush. I think it's going to be the run game. Like I said, I think Will Stein's going to come out and he is going to mash on Friday night. But maybe he kind of draws up some other things to help neutralize his pass rush a little bit more, because I look at all the talent advantages throughout this offense. And if Oregon can run the football and run the football and run the football, I think that really opens up some advantages on the outside. And it's mostly on the corners. Like I would say, attack the corners, but keep an eye on the safeties in the middle of the field. Because as I said, the pass rush was the best part of Minnesota. I think when you isolate the secondary, the safeties are easily the best part of that secondary. Coy Parrish is an awesome player. Kerry Brown is another awesome player out there, but they're not as athletic and they're not as good, certainly, on the outside with John Nestor or Deontay McMillan. They have been prone to attacks from other teams this season. So, if you establish that run, get them in a one-on-one man coverage matchup, I think that's where you can attack these guys and hit some big plays, certainly on the outside. Now, there's not a ton to talk about when you chat about Minnesota's offense. And I think a big reason for that is because it looks like their star running back, Darius Taylor, is going to be out once again. Like, when he's healthy, he's one of the best and most dynamic running backs in the entire conference. But here's the thing about Darius's career. he hasn't really been healthy the last couple of years. He struggled with maybe getting on the field consistently. So with him out there, you got Drake Lindsey, redshirt freshman. Fama Ijaboy is their top running back, redshirt freshman. Jalen Smith is a wide receiver. I mean, he's a young guy. He's a freshman as well. Like, I think in a couple of years, Minnesota will have the potential to be, I think, a pretty good Big Ten football team. But just right now, there's too many matchup disadvantages for me to really believe that they're going to have multiple successful drives in the first half. And then when this game maybe gets out of hand, in the second half, it might be pretty close to over at that point in time. Minnesota has not fared well against good teams on the road this year. They lost 41-3 to Iowa. They got steamrolled by Ohio State in Columbus. So I don't expect anything to be terribly different in this game against the Oregon Ducks. Last thing that I want to finish on, okay, if you're Dan Lanning and this Oregon coaching staff, please just don't force the injured players back. Like, if Decorian Moore, Kenyon Sadiq, Alex Harkey, Gary Bryant Jr., if these guys aren't 110%, don't play them. Just don't play them. You want to have your eyes on the ultimate prize. Don't risk re-injury. This is an Oregon team that can win with Malik Benson at receiver, Jamari Johnson and Roger Salapaga at tight end. Cooper Perry playing some wide receiver reps like we saw during the game against Iowa. But here's one thing on the flip side that I think is also worth talking about. This could be a very interesting warm-up, pitch count type of game for Evan Stewart. Now, a lot of people have, ever since it was reported by On3, hey, it looks like he could be back sometime in November. I think a lot of people were looking towards later in the month, possibly against the USC Trojans. But what if he just goes out there, get him out there for 15 snaps, get him out there for 20 snaps in a game that you feel really confident in, really good in, and let's test drive him a little bit before we let him loose on the racetrack. Again, in a game like Oregon, in a game like USC for Oregon, or a game like Washington down the road, where those are probably going to be stiffer challenges against more talented football teams than, of course, your West Coast rivals. So if Evan is in the ballpark of playing, it wouldn't surprise me to kind of see him out there for a little bit, even if it's just for the coaches to see this is where he is. And if he's not if you throw him out there, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe we need to hold him out until Washington. Maybe we need to hold him out until the first round of the playoffs. It could be a good gauge to really see where Evan is. All right, folks, it is prediction time. Here's the thing about Minnesota. They're a ball control Big Ten West type of offense. So I could see, a lot of the clock kind of being milked down, and maybe Oregon doesn't get as many possessions as they would like to in this game. So I'm going Oregon 31, Minnesota 10. I think they're going to take advantage of when they have the football. Minnesota's defense is a pretty solid unit. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a situation like Rutgers where they're just going to up and down the field at will. So I'm really curious to see how they respond throughout the game, how Minnesota and what their defensive game plan is throughout the game, because I think they've got some talented players, as I mentioned, on the defensive side of the ball. It's just I don't think Minnesota has much offensively to be able to contend and be able to put successful drives together, especially in the first half, because I think once you get to the second half, it's going to start to get out of hand a little bit. I think the Ducks are going to coast, but this is a Minnesota cover, and this is an under. So, well, that 22.5, or 25.5, excuse me. That's a big number for a team that's 4-2 in the Big Ten, 6-3 overall, like the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. All right, folks, that'll wrap up this week's edition of That Show Out West. I am going to have my post-game recap written on Scoop Duck after the game on Friday night, so stay tuned for that. And then I'm going to post my reaction to this game on YouTube on Friday night as well. All right, folks. Enjoy the game, and then enjoy a full Saturday where you can just sit back and watch any game you want. Or if you want to do some outdoor activities, I'm sure you'll get those done as well. All right, I'm Ted LaBrue. We will see you in the next edition of That Show Out West. Have a good one.